All right, welcome to the Two Sons podcast. Happy Thursday or Friday, everybody. I'm not sure which day I'm going to be releasing this episode. Today we are covering episode 6 of House of the Dragon. You guys know the drill. Before we get started, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We would sincerely appreciate that so you guys don't miss any more of our videos. I also have a link in the description that will take you to all of our social media pages. If you guys could follow those just so that you see our little clips and stuff. We sincerely appreciate you guys supporting the show and rocking with us, and that's the best way to follow us.
Week 6 of Jason making me watch House of the Dragon.
Yes.
Game of Thrones.
Week 6 of me slowly but surely forcing Luke. See, the thing is Luke, and I respect this about you, and for the record, you know, the gratuitous violence thing to me is pointless. Like, I'm not bothered by it, but like, yeah, I don't need to see Sir Criston pound a dude's face in and then watch the like pulpy mass of his head like slosh side to side. That's
right.
Gratuitous, unnecessary violence. So I get,
or just a quick masturbation scene just thrown in. Like, what?
just jerking off in the window, man. You know,
I know,
but
my heart is becoming blackened by watching this show.
I understand where Luke is coming from, and I appreciate him giving it the effort. I always told him that he would really like House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones because of the narrative weight. Like okay. So for instance, there was a story that came out this morning, I think, that Hugh Jackman is reprising Wolverine. I sent these to you this morning.
I know. I was working out.
Oh, okay,
getting huge. Just getting Hugh Jackman.
But yeah, like I said, look, these videos of basically Hugh Jackman's going to reprise Wolverine in the new Deadpool movie, and my producers and I, for the company I work at, we were talking about how like Marvel just has this like freedom of movement to just throw stuff in at various points in time. Like this would be the equivalent of like if they just. Like if we were watching, a random High Republic movie 5 years from now, and then they just like were like, hey, it'd be fun. Let's throw Revan in here, even though it didn't make sense with the timeline or anything. Like, but the thing is like in comic books they have that kind of flexibility. But like
for sure,
Star Wars has a very sacred a timeline, a very sacred lore that's behind it. And Game of Thrones is very similar,
right?
And like you're even seeing this with Lord of the Rings, where they're venturing outside of the popular lore, and it's like infuriating Tolkien fans. Yeah, and Tolkien fans they're pretty large, kind of fan base.
They've existed for a very long time
because it's been around forever. Yeah, and but yeah. So my thing was like I thought Luke would really enjoy Game of Thrones because it's got a similar respect for the timeline and for the lore that Star Wars does, but he keeps getting distracted by random masturbation scenes and random incest and random face pulpings and things along those
face pulpings
and things along those lines.
Gather around for the face pulping.
But hey, he's pushing through it.
I'm pushing through it. And for the record, I do like the plot.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, right? I think it's very good. I'm rewatching Game of Thrones right now, and this is my third time through it, and I am thoroughly enjoying it. Yeah. So we have skipped forward 10 years.
Yeah, recasting.
And for the record, there's going to be an additional time skip a week from Sunday that is going to lead to the final recastings. Presumably, these kids that we saw in this scene in this episode are all going to be recasted. But I think like. I'm coming around on the concept because a civil war involves, especially within a family, involves people who love each other trying to kill each other. Like these are Rhaenyra's nephews that she's going to be going to war against. Yeah. You know what I mean? Led by a woman who was her best friend as a child. And these time jumps, as annoying as they are and as confusing as they are, they're very important to setting the stage for what this civil war ends up being. Right. And I appreciate them taking the time. And for the record, the recastings like Lady Alicent or the Queen Alicent and Princess Rhaenyra, the new actresses they brought in are freaking phenomenal.
No, they're great actresses. I'm going to get a little nitpicky.
Okay, let's hear it.
I don't think the actresses for Rhaenyra look similar.
Oh, they don't look anything alike.
At all. And their body mechanics are completely different.
Yes, they are.
They act way differently from each other.
Okay. The body mechanics, I can see what you're getting at there, although I'm less observant than you. Where I do think they're very similar is I think she's got the Rhaenyra obstinance, that attitude, that edge.
Yeah.
That I think she does a good job with that.
But that's written into a plot.
For sure. Yeah. For sure. But body mechanics are almost impossible to replicate from human to human.
And like I said, nitpicky.
Exactly.
So.
But like I did appreciate, like, and I was talking again to one of my producers about this the other day, and I was like, it's amazing how good acting will cover for just about anything in terms of like getting you back involved. Like Lord of the Rings, in the last 2 episodes, actually, I've had moments where I've gotten a little bit kind of like sucked out of the universe by how cheesy it can be sometimes.
Really?
And I not to the extent that I'm not enjoying it, because I'm very much enjoying it, but there's no doubt that like Game of Thrones has done a much better job of keeping me invested in what's happening,
right?
And kind of feeling like I'm in that universe. Excuse me, rather than what Lord of the Rings has done. So first of all, Rhaenyra and her 3 bastard children that she has with Sir Harwin Strong, who is the hand of the king's son, and he's also the head of the City Watch.
Correct.
This is the part that bothers me. Game of Thrones has like a rumor mill, like a gossip chain. And it's a huge thing. It was in the original Game of Thrones. It's here now. Everybody knows everything about everyone.
Yeah.
Even there's a scene in this episode where Daemon's talking with Lady Lena, and they're talking about the bastard children, and he's like completely aware of everything that happens in Game of Thrones. They're like, oh, Sir Loras Tyrell, yeah, he's clearly gay. That everyone talks about it.
Yeah.
And so if everybody knew that Lionel was gay, the Valerian son, and like, is it, and everyone married her off anyway because of the powers of the house, like,
right?
Why isn't everyone just like, yeah, let her go have babies with someone else? Like, I don't understand why they're like looking at that as some huge, it's that or no babies. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. Yeah, but my point is like I want to be like, why is Lady Alicent playing this like moral high ground over Rhaenyra? She's married to a guy who's gay. They have a mutual understanding. He gets to go do what he does. She gets to go do what she does. Yeah. That makes perfect sense to me.
I think at the end of the day, people are so uptight about bloodlines, and they want that pure bloodline to exist. And also, whatever the king says is biblical. Yeah. Right? So the king is not willing to admit it, even though he knows it. And because he's not willing to admit it, that is the law of the land, and Rhaenyra has legitimate children. For now, at least.
And like, and it pisses me off because it's like Lady Alicent, you're a brunette. Your dad's a brunette.
Oh, I know.
Your kids have white hair. You're lucky. Yeah. Okay? Like, Rhaenyra's with the brunette too. Her kids are coming out brunette. And she's like checking the hair and like judging the kids. I'm like, I want to be like, your next kid very well could have brown hair.
But like 3 of them, and Jason, like, keep in mind, they're both white.
That's right. No, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Like, you're because the Valerian hair is white. No, I get that. I get that. But I want to be like, if your concern is the pure blood, then why are you so like, oh, Aegon should be the king? Because he's not pure blood.
True. We should get a geneticist on.
Yeah,
they can go over like the pedigree of Game of Thrones families and whether or not the likelihood of a legitimate son is true or not.
Dude, it was super weird how like the dynamic where like Lionel's like totally down to play father.
Oh, I know.
Like, he was like, we have a new son.
I know. Yeah, dude, it's so bizarre. She's like, yeah, you can hold him, sure.
Oh my god,
why not? Okay, let's talk about the dynamic of Lady Alicent holding the new babe. That was creepy.
Oh, dude. Well, and her making her bring the baby like right away.
Yeah.
And what was stupid about that is like, it's not like they'd be able to hide his hair color for his entire lifetime. Like eventually one day you'd be out in the yard while he's playing with swords and be like, why are his roots brown? You know, like, so like, like her,
so funny.
Her requiring her like literally bleeding post birth to lumber up a bunch of stairs and bring her the baby, like total like mean move from Lady Alicent.
For sure.
Not
no longer
chill.
Friendly. Yeah, at all.
I actually like the dynamic between Rhaenyra and Lionel though, because like even at the end when they decide to go to Dragonstone, like she's like, yeah, you can bring your guy. Like they're kind of like they kind of like have this cool relationship.
I was gonna bring that up. They jive really well together, don't they? Like they both get each other. They're both like very tolerant of each other and their needs. And he actually seemed in tune to her. Like he was acting like a husband, and actually there's different types of love, right? So it seems like there is true love between those two, and it does seem like they've got each other's
It's a different kind of love.
It's a different type of love.
The way he treats her like a gentleman every time, and like the way he's taking care of her after the birth, like all in all, I kind of enjoyed that dynamic. They're clearly setting up Rhaenyra as the sympathetic figure, and Alicent as kind of like the jerk figure. I read this article this morning, or I didn't read it. I saw it on my Twitter feed. And, you know, when you go to Twitter has like an explore page where they show top stories, and one of the things was like, it's hard to root for anybody in Game of Thrones or in House of the Dragon to get on the Iron Throne because they're all bad people. And I want to be like, I actually like Rhaenyra. I think Rhaenyra is strong-minded in a good way.
And has she done anything really sketchy yet?
No, I think she's honorable. Like, okay, yeah, so she likes to have sex. Cool, that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, that's totally.
She's a little into her uncle, slightly, but not really. But
yeah,
yes.
But that's a Targaryen thing, though.
Yeah, okay, it's normal.
But I stand for Rhaenyra and her behavior.
You know, if I had to pick somebody, it'd be Rhaenyra.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Alicent is like clearly like a super manipulative,
She's
super jealous person.
She's pseudo king.
Oh,
She's
of course
completely overstepping her boundaries right now. She's totally in the king's ear.
Well, first of all, she's
like Otto was.
She somehow, well, she absolutely is. She somehow manages to convince everyone in King's Landing, even though they watched Sir Criston beat a man to a pulp at a wedding feast, that he is
total vibe kill.
That he is now totally chill and trustworthy and can be the queen's personal guard.
Doesn't it look like Kristen Cole that every single ounce of life has just been sucked out of that man?
Oh, dude.
And he's just a husk of like a soldier that's standing there.
Game of Thrones did this a lot with different characters where, like, one scene you'd see Sir Jorah Mormont, and he's like this strong, supporter and servant to Lady Daenerys, or to Daenerys Targaryen, and then like 2 episodes later, he's just completely down on his luck. Got discovered for spying on her, and got kicked out of the city. And now he's like this, like basically like a drifter. And like they do this a lot, where like at one moment, like where like Sir Criston has slayed a boar and is like the main trustworthy companion to Rhaenyra, and then like 2 episodes later, he's like this withered, like beaten down man who's now just like Lady Alicent's bitch, basically.
And then he starts talking bad about Rhaenyra, and it was so bad that Lady Alicent was even like, dude,
yeah, like chill out, bro.
Let's check yourself.
Yeah, you're taking it a little too far, and you sound like a lovelorn person. We meet Lady Alicent's children, Aegon and Aemond, and what I thought was interesting there was it kind of reminded me of the coin flip Targaryen thing that we talked about a lot, where like Aegon is clearly like really off in the head a little bit, not in like a Joffrey way where he's like deeply cruel, but he's definitely cruel for a child.
He also seems a little stupid.
Oh, he's absolutely stupid. Yeah, he's absolutely, and there's definitely like a
little cross-eyed appearance to him.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And when Alicent finds him jerking off in the window, like there's kind of like this moment where he looks like very feeble as she's like chastising him in a certain way.
Ridiculous.
But then Aemond kind of seems like a little bit more of like a down-to-earth type of kid. And it's not entirely shocking from the perspective of the little brother versus firstborn concept.
Yeah.
And that's very similar to Joffrey and Tommen. Joffrey was the insane one. Tommen was the very nice and kind one. I think in the time jump, all of these people are going to be adults. And they're all going to play major roles in the Civil War to come.
I think so too. We were talking about acting, and I didn't think any of the children were super great actors.
No, but I have low standards for children actors. Like when you see stuff like Arya and Arya Stark in Game of Thrones, like killing it, like that's rare. Like it's kind of a rare thing.
Well, my point is I think they're going to be recasted pretty quickly.
Oh, I think the kids will
legitimately
be
placeholders.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the last major thing we got to address here is this climactic scene at the end where Larys, who is very similar, he's almost like a combination of Lord Varys and Lord Baelish from Game of Thrones, where Lord Baelish was the evil manipulator and Lord Varys was the master of whispers, and he had all the intel. Yeah. This guy's like both. kind of like wrapped into one. He's got all the whispers and all the intel, but he's also like deeply manipulative.
Yeah, and he's got that
evil.
weird like cult-like following.
Oh, dude.
His symbol is a bee, right?
Yeah.
And then those dudes who are going around, where were they at? What was that kingdom that they were at where he ends up having his brother and dad killed?
Oh, Harrenhal.
Yeah. So yeah, he's got this little cult-like following that lives there that does his will.
Or that went there and executed this mission. Yeah, like he's clearly got and that cult following does not appear to be associated with his house.
Correct. I'd agree with that.
In the scene, we see Harwin die, but you just see Lionel banging on the door.
Right.
So, but then I watched the preview for the next week. I did not watch the like breakdown scene. So you watched the breakdown scene, and they said that Lionel dies too.
I'm 90% sure that they said it. It was pretty late when I was watching it, but I'm pretty sure that they talked about how both of them had passed.
So that explains something to me, because in the preview episode, a lot goes down. Well, before we get to that, the final scene, Lady Alicent categorically is like, I did not ask you to do this. You crossed the line.
Right.
And Larys basically like says like, oh, I'm sure you'll repay me in time. And you know what was creepy about that? It was almost like he was blackmailing her.
Yeah.
Kind of like everyone, and the dynamic that I was picking up is more like a, he knows that everyone in the entire kingdom will suspect Alicent is responsible for this. Mm-hmm. And essentially, like, he is almost saying, like, I can basically implicate you in this, so you better do whatever I ask. Yeah. That was kind of the vibe I was
It was an ultimate power move. So I was watching this, and when he did that, I thought how similar Game of Thrones is to the TV show Survivor.
Oh, really? Okay, I want to hear this take.
so, and it's actually very superficial and not that deep. So in Survivor, everyone knows that you're playing a game. Like, it becomes very apparent after like the first couple seasons that anyone who's willing to go and play Survivor, like, you're going to have to manipulate people. That doesn't mean you're a bad person. You're going to have to lie to people. That doesn't mean you're a bad person. But then they create these relationships and these friendships that as they're happening, they seem like super strong, super golden. And then one person gets voted out and the whole entire dynamic changes. And then all of a sudden you can just backstab someone super, super easily just because they trust you. And that's exactly what Game of Thrones is. Only this is like real life where people are actually dying.
It's a little
not real life. Of course, it's in it's a TV show, right? But you get my point.
No, I get you. Yeah, like even trust is and that's a huge thing in the original Game of Thrones in the first season is like Lord Varys and Lord Baelish are everyone they talk to, or they're like, don't trust anyone.
Yeah.
The first thing you need to do is just not trust anyone.
And that's what Survivor contestants say. They're like, you cannot trust anybody. Like, people who form relationships and they think that they're all tight, and then the next week they're voting them off. Mm-hmm. And they're leading it too. They're like, you know what people wouldn't suspect if I voted off my new boyfriend? It's wild.
But okay, so
sorry,
no, you're
off on
fine.
a tangent.
Oh, okay. So the thing from the end. So from the preview, you see the hand of the king symbol go on what looks to be Alicent's father.
Otto.
Yes. My first thought when I saw that was, and at that point I did not know that Lionel had died. But when I first
think
thought
he did. I mean,
we think
we'll
he did.
find
We
out.
don't know. But my first thought when I saw that was like, oh, okay, in the next episode, Viserys will die.
That's our running over under.
Rhaenyra is going to be at Dragonstone, and rather than calling Rhaenyra to come back to King's Landing, Lady Alicent is going to make some sort of proclamation that Rhaenyra is dishonorable, and then name Aegon the king, and then bring back Otto Hightower to be his hand. That was my first theory when I saw that. Now that I saw that, now that I've seen that Lionel might have died as well, this might be a simple Hand of the King replacement, and it very well could end up being either Otto or even Larys becoming the Hand of the King. But there's going to be a new Hand of the King in the next episode. It looks like it was Otto, but it's hard to say.
Well, he definitely has a part because he's there. You see his face again. This entire episode, you didn't see Otto's face, but then in the previews, he's there. Yeah,
exactly. And then there's also clearly Viserys is still alive. at least for part of the next episode, because there's that weird scene where he's like sitting in the throne and he's got like a cap on his head that like covers his, destroyed scalp or whatever. I don't know, his general Schmiegelness.
he is Schmiegling hard. He looks so bad. He's got one arm and he's kind of got a little gut. They put like a little pillow underneath his shirt. It looked like when he was in any
definitely doesn't
scene.
look great. Anything else in your notes from this one?
Damon, just an all-time father figure. All of a sudden.
Oh yeah, dude, just totally like
just on vacation.
Damon's literally just playing house.
He's just playing house. He's on vacation. He's got no worries. He's like, yeah, I like it here. We don't have to deal with all the politics. And then his wife, what's his wife's name?
Lena.
Lena. The contrast between Lena's childbirth death and the Queen's childbirth death was in stark contrast, right?
There was so much intrigue there. Well, first of all, she leans into it. She just
leans
walks
into
out
it
there and
hard.
sacrifices herself. She makes the decision.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Daemon asks her, which I thought was really interesting. Well, they imply that Daemon asks her because when Viserys does it, they walk up to her.
It's very hidden.
Pin her down, cut the baby out. She's like, "What's happening? What's happening? What's happening?" The maester goes to Daemon, tells him the reality, says, "Hey, we can cut the baby out, but your wife's going to die." At that point, they show him walk up to her, and then they skip ahead to her running out and killing herself. So presumably Daemon goes to the trouble of talking to Lena about it, which I thought was really cool. Like, Daemon's quickly becoming one of my favorite characters.
Right.
And my longstanding theory is that he's going to side with Rhaenyra in the Civil War, which I told you about. So like I'm a big that dynamic. I think they're turning Daemon into a more sympathetic figure, and I thought that was really cool. There was two things though. First of all, the power dynamics in Essos. So the Stepstones have fallen again to a new guy. They've also gone into an alliance with Dorne. Now Dorne, to be clear, when they call it the Seven Kingdoms, but it's really the Six Kingdoms. Because when Aegon, the original Aegon Targaryen, conquered Westeros, the one kingdom that resisted the dragons was Dorne. Now, from what I understand, they were like a loose ally, meaning like they weren't at war with each other, but Dorne stayed independent from the Six Kingdoms. Now Dorne has allied with the Stepstones, and these people are in Braavos, I believe. I think it's either Braavos or some other Essos continent or country. But basically, the leaders of this continent come up to Daemon and they're like, "Look, we feel a threat from these people. If you and your dragons stay here, we'll give you all the money." Like basically, like we want you to stay here. Basically, as a symbol of our like defense and inability to be conquered. But Lena feels the sense of purpose to go back to the Seven Kingdoms and get involved in the conflict, which I thought was an interesting dynamic.
She's got the sense of purpose. Her dragon is sweet.
She rides Vhagar.
Yeah.
So she got the biggest dragon somehow. How cool is that?
That thing is tight.
And how dope is it that like her whole family used to never ride dragons, but then suddenly her brother did at the Battle of the Stepstones, and then suddenly she gets Vhagar.
Right.
And Vhagar, it just, that whole dynamic was really cool. And then honestly, like, as you know, the Targaryen blood, when you have the blood of the dragon, you are impervious to fire, and they don't actually show it. Or I think they might show the second daughter. I can't remember, but presumably the baby survives when the dragon burns up the mom, which I thought was cool. Oh, you didn't catch that part? So,
no, I did not catch that at all.
So there was a weird scene at the end where like Daemon's with two daughters, I thought he only had one daughter and the pregnant wife.
Oh no!
Or was there two? But
I think he had two like fairly old daughters. I don't know, dude.
Either
you're asking
way,
the wrong person.
but either way, I believe Lady Lena went to the dragon and asked the dragon to kill her, knowing that her baby would survive because it had the Targaryen blood.
That's a cool take.
Yes.
That scene was amazing because they did such a good job of making the dragon almost seem human.
Oh, dude, it was cool.
There was a point where the dragon's looking at her, and you could tell the dragon's thinking, like, "Are you sure? We're really going to do this?" And then she says it again, and the dragon just does it and just sits there afterwards. It was wild.
Dude, well, there's another dragon moment in Game of Thrones that I will not spoil that involves basically a Daenerys Targaryen's dragon making a similar type of decision. And I won't spoil it, but like they do make the dragons very human characters. It's actually really, really cool.
They put a great amount of detail into the dragons. Also, the smaller dragon when the kids are meeting it.
Oh
when
yeah,
they're in
yeah.
like that little like Coliseum area was a really
dragon
cool,
pits, dude.
that was super neat.
Dude,
Super neat.
I've the whole lore of Game of Thrones has got me all in.
Yeah.
But
Tune in for week 7 of me being forced to watch Game of Thrones.
yeah, next Wednesday. All right, guys. Thank you as always for your support, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks a lot.